Over the last week, Eddie Howe's Magpies have chased away a pack of foxes, shoot away a swarm of bees. But now, what can they do against a bunch of lads and tractors? Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody, and welcome out to the Newcastle United Digest, the channel delivering you Toon content in bite-sized chunks. My name is Adam Snyder, and I will be going over what was an incredible midweek match against Brentford, as well as looking forward to our match against Ipswich and the Carabao Cup draw that took place on Thursday. Now, a lot has already been said about the match on Wednesday against Brentford. You can go back and watch the highlights. You can watch the match cam from Newcastle United. And if you haven't watched those yet, I highly recommend doing it. They were so much fun to watch. The game was a blast to watch live. I'm so excited to see what we're seeing again from Newcastle United. The things I really enjoyed the most were the same intensity and joy in the offensive end that we saw against Leicester. It seems like Eddie Howe's Mags have their mojo back, and it's coming at just the right time over a very, very condensed set of fixtures over the next few weeks. The winger and wingback combination on both sides of the field, with Gordon and Hall on the left and Murphy and Livermento on the right, looked like they've been playing every single match together all season long, week in, week out. They were just that well communicative. They knew exactly what each other were going to be doing, and the link-up play between them was just fantastic for the last two matches. On the defensive side of the ball, there were two lapses in concentration. One in the first half that could have been a penalty kick had there been VAR. Maybe, maybe not. And then the lapse in concentration that led to Brentford's consolation goal just before second half injury time started. The biggest joy of this game was watching the dominance of Sandro Tonali in midfield. The only way I can describe the midfield maestro's play and his attitude, how he plays, is just a relaxed confidence. His one-touch passes and his touches, they just look effortless. And they do such a good job of not only absorbing and redirecting pressure from his opponents when he has the ball, but they also do the same thing when he passes the ball. The passes are so intelligent, and their weight and who they go to and the timing, they take away pressure from whoever's receiving the pass as well. So it gives them more time on the ball to do what they need to do. This aura of calm has radiated throughout that midfield and throughout the rest of the pitch. And best of all, we finally saw for the first time since August 2023 what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. And he scored a pair of fantastic goals in the first half. And before we move on, I do want to give my ratings by position for this match as well. And starting with goalkeeper, we're going to give Marty Dubravka a 9.5 out of 10. A clean sheet would have made this a 10 out of 10 because he did make some big saves. And that penalty shout could have happened had VAR been around. But other than that and the goal. And for defense, I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. The defense was very well organized and played very well all night. Once the defensive duties were taken care of, both Lewis Hall and Tino Livermento were vital parts of attack on the other end of the field. And it was Tino's run that led to Tonali's first goal, and the runs and crosses from both Tino and Hall resulted in some very dangerous scoring opportunities. The full point was lost for, well, a couple of things. One was Tino Livermento's lunge on Keane Lewis Potter. He was beaten badly to the end line, and he made a late tackle on Lewis Potter. Had he actually connected, he's going down in the penalty area, and it's a surefire penalty kick to Brentford. The Wissa opportunity in the first half that was also a potential penalty shout, that was a little bit of a lapse as well. And that Brentford goal all around from forward midfield defense was a big miss for me. Just giveaways and missed tackles and missed marks. It was just a complete lapse of concentration in the dying stages of a game. So for those reasons, they get a 9 out of 10. And the midfield for this game is going to get a 10 out of 10. The trio of Joelinton, Tonali, and Bruno were a well-balanced force in midfield. For the second straight game, we saw Sandro Tonali show his class all over the pitch. At one point in the first half, the TV coverage here in the US showed a breakdown of the touches he took that showed him all over the pitch, collecting and passing, collecting and passing. Like I mentioned before, he has this calm, relaxed confidence on the ball that we have not seen from anybody else in midfield this season, and that calmness radiates to others around him. It was unfortunate to lose Joelinton to injury in the first half, but Joe Willock provided an injection of pace that further pinned back Brentford's squad, and it really opened things up in the second half for us. Now, the forwards, they're going to get a 9 out of 10. The only thing that was missing from the forwards today was a goal. Anthony Gordon, Jacob Murphy, and Harvey Barnes as a sub all had great chances, with Murphy and Barnes both hitting the post at one point. The last two games have shown a very different side of Alex Isak's game, where he is using his skill and his vision to not only just create chances for him, but for those around him. His unselfishness has resulted in many goals over the past couple of games. And for the second straight game in a row, I'm going to give a very high score for set pieces. This one's going to be a 9.5 out of 10. We scored 2 goals off of corner kicks, and one of them was an absolute banger. And for the second game in a row, I'm giving our set piece performance a high score. They're getting a 9.5 out of 10. For the second straight game, we scored 2 goals off of set pieces, both of these coming off of corner kicks this time. And Tonali's in the first half was an absolute banger that mid-air volleys can be talked about for a very, very long time. And in the second half, Cher's tap and goal after a whole lot of chaos ensued in the Brentford penalty area with a shot from Hall making it through, Bruno getting the rebound, and giving Cher an easy tap in front of goal. It's nice to see this yet again. We were missing this for a long stretch this season, and it looks like we have a potential turnaround in our scoring record on dead ball opportunities. The only downside was how we defended Nathan Collins' long throw-ins. There was an opportunity early in the first half that could have been a lot more dangerous than it was. When defending long throw-ins, you want to do one of two things. Number one, don't let the ball bounce. We made that mistake on a free kick against Brentford a couple weeks ago. That's not going to happen again. The second thing, don't let them win the first ball. Because when you lose the first ball, then you allow them to dictate where the ball's going, and you are guessing it from that point. If you win the first ball, you can clear it out, and you can start dictating play. On this particular throw-in, we did not do a very good job of containing that ball, and we let Brentford make the first move. I know it's a little bit picky, but I know that if things like this are allowed to slide, it could lead to worse and worse performances going on, especially against other teams that have a long throw-in specialist, kind of like Ipswich this weekend. And on the substitution side, I'm going to give Eddie Howe and his staff a 9 out of 10. It's unfortunate that the team who finished off the game could not keep the clean sheet, but they continued to create opportunities up until the final whistle. One thing I must say about this team is even though they conceded a late goal, they didn't sit back afterwards. They went right back at attacking. A minute or two after that kickoff, you saw Bruno take a shot that went wide, but the fact that they had the intent to continue attacking afterwards, having that resilience, is amazing to see. It just shows just how high the team spirit is right now. Going back to the substitutions, I think that Eddie did well to give some rest to his entire front three, and Joe Willock had a great performance in the second half. And overall, that gives this game a score of 9.3 out of 10. Eddie Howe's Mags kept the visiting Bees in their hive with 90 minutes of full throttle football once again. They let off the gas slightly toward the end to give up a goal, but the attack was relentless throughout the entire game. Unfortunately, we had to wait a full 24 hours before the Carabao Cup semifinal draw took place. The draw took place after a very entertaining match between Spurs and Manchester United, where Spurs beat the Red Devils 4-3, despite their repeated chances to try to cough up this game and bow out of the competition. When the draw was done and dusted, we are paired against Arsenal with the Gunners as the home side in the first leg, meaning in the second leg, St. James Park is going to be a fortress. After the Spurs game, I was hoping that we would get drawn against them, but I think drawing Arsenal is the next best option. I think that playing Liverpool at this time, if they continue their run of form in January, they would have been a very, very difficult side to beat. So the fact that we get Arsenal, I'm okay with this. They do have a pretty tough schedule surrounding both of their games. On both sides of the first leg, they have relatively rough games against Brighton away, then home against us at the Carabao Cup, and then at home again to Man United in the FA Cup. For the second leg, they're going to have a very condensed schedule. The Wednesday before, they're in Girona for the Champions League. Then they have Man City at home. Then they have us. And assuming they beat Man United, they'll draw to who knows in the fourth round of the FA Cup. But the fact that they have that condensed of a schedule around that second leg between the Champions League, fighting for the Premier League title, fighting for an FA Cup, and fighting for a Carabao Cup, I can imagine Mikel Arteta. I don't think he's going to exactly prioritize this cup over the other three competitions. So I think that if we can keep ourselves close in the first leg, the second leg will be right for the taking. But before we get there, Newcastle have a match to play at Ipswich this weekend. We do have some injuries and suspensions to deal with. Obviously, Joe Linton's going to be suspended for this one because of his yellow accumulations. Sven Botman is still rehabbing his knee, but in the very final stages of it, he did play his first competitive football on Monday in the U21 side against Chelsea, where he played for 60 minutes and played very, very well throughout the entire game. Jamal Lascelles is lagging a little bit behind him with his own knee injury. Emil Kraft is nearing the end of his collarbone injury rehab. Callum Wilson is just at the start of his hamstring rehab. And last I heard about Nick Pope, he was having his knee looked at, and it's not sure how serious that injury is going to be. So I wouldn't expect him to play this weekend. I'm going to call this segment What to Watch For because there are two things on either side of the ball. On the offensive side of things, look for opportunities to pass in tight quarters in the penalty area. There's a lot of combination play we saw between Lewis Hall and Anthony Gordon, as well as Jacob Murphy and Tino Livramento on the right. And a lot of that is going to be very advantageous against the Tractor Boys on Saturday. With a lot of bodies around the penalty area, Ipswich do not do a very good job of cutting off passing lanes. This could create some opportunities for Isaac to poach a goal in traffic, or for Murphy or a midfielder like Tonali or Bruno to have a pop from the top of the penalty area. Really, you keep them guessing, you keep them moving around, you're going to create opportunities, you're going to create space. Now, the other thing is winning second balls around the box. One thing I noticed is that Ipswich is not a very effective team at clearing the ball out of their penalty area. There are not many chances that were scored off of these poor clearances, but the teams that they've recently faced, Wolves, Bournemouth, Palace, Nottingham Forest, have not been the most offensive threats as of late. Another thing to look out for is long throw defending. Like I mentioned against Brentford on Wednesday, we have to defend their long throws a little bit better. Ipswich does have a similar weapon, and it's vital that Newcastle dictates his play by winning the first ball and clearing it out of danger right away. Bournemouth showed the importance of this where they lost the first ball and conceded a goal to the Tractor Boys in their match 2 weeks ago. And finally, keep calm and score worldies. Ipswich is essentially a championship side that is doing whatever they can to stay afloat in the Premier League. A lot of their tactics are straight out of the championship. They will be physical all over the pitch, and it's up to our guys to keep their discipline and play their own game, because if we do that, it takes away their physicality, and we can just dictate play just like we did against Leicester and just like we did against Brentford. These are two teams that we decisively beat that really didn't have a chance to keep up with us, and it's time to take 3 points and earn the third straight win over the course of a week. That will be a humongous morale booster as we continue through this mega run of fixtures throughout the festive period and into January. And now here's my predicted starting 11 for the match on Saturday. And in goal, you're going to see Marty Dubravka again. There's not been a lot of positive news about Pope's injury, so I would expect Marty to get the start again. It's nothing against Nick Pope. I just don't see him returning from injury this quickly. And in defense, you're going to see some rotation on the outside of defense, with both Livramento and Hall being replaced by Trippier and Kelly. I was going back and forth on whether or not I think Kelly would start in center back, replace either Burner Share, or if he would replace Lewis Hall on the left-hand side. I think he'll be playing on the left side. I just don't trust him in central defense. I trust him a little bit more, but not much more. Maybe if he's healthy and fit, maybe Matt Target will play instead. I hope. But if he's not, I would expect Kelly to play maybe a half, maybe 60 minutes tops, and then come off for Hall or Livermento. I think the same thing goes for Trippier. I think you'd see the outside play for about 60 minutes or so, depending how the game's going, and allow our young stars to get some rest. And in midfield, you're going to see Longstaff, Tonali, and Bruno. This is a game that is made for Sean Longstaff, and it's time to impress the gaffer once again. With Joe Linton suspended for this game, this is the most logical choice. If Eddie Howe wants to change things up, you can see Joe Willock drop back into midfield because I think he's going to start on the right-hand side alongside Isak and Harvey Barnes. This is going to be a heavy rotation game just because we've had 3 games in a week and we've got another one coming up on Boxing Day and we've got another one coming up after that. And then when you see where this is going. There's a very condensed fixture list going on right now, and squad rotation, especially at this time of year, is very, very, very essential. And my predicted score for this game is going to be a 2-0 Newcastle win. You can only do so much to hold back talent, and you can only do so much to try to annoy them and frustrate them. Unfortunately, they're catching Newcastle at the worst possible time. Newcastle's figured out how to break down sides that put 10 men behind the ball. They've done it for the last 2 games in a row. And quite frankly, their defenses are slightly better than what Ipswich's is right now. There's a lot of desperation defending going on with Ipswich in a lot of games recently. So I think that this is going to be another opportunity for the Newcastle attackers to get their tails up and start attacking. This could be a long day for Ed Sheeran and his Tractor Boys. Hopefully, Sam Fender is off his vocal rest to serenade Ed after the full-time whistle. And that will do it for this episode of the Newcastle United Digest. If you have made it this far and you did like what you see, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more Newcastle United content in bite-sized chunks. And if you really like what you saw, be sure to send this out in your group chats or wherever you talk about Newcastle United with your friends. I'm always looking forward to reading comments that you leave as well, and I respond to them very quickly. So until next time, this is Adam Snyder saying, "Ahoy the lads." Bye for now.